Hey everyone, Alex from Android Central here, and today we're taking a quick look at a device which is a little bit different to the kind of things we normally deal with. So this is the Archos 35 smart home phone. It's a phone for your landline that runs on Android. It's powered by smartphone internals and it runs on the DECT standard. So just like any other cordless phone, you've got this base station which you plug into the wall, and that just sits there. And then it connects wirelessly to the handset, which also comes with this little charger thing here. And you can run up to 5 of these handsets off one of these base stations, just like any other cordless phone setup. So let's take a look at the handset itself. It's this sort of strange metallic grey colour. Not the best build quality in the world, I've got to admit. It is quite plasticky. You've got a 3.5-inch screen on the front, usual buttons down there, and also some volume buttons, power button on the side, and this big loudspeaker on the back there. Down at the bottom we've got our USB port, headphone jack, and these little connectors that let you charge it when it's in its cradle. Like I said though, definitely a little lacking in terms of build quality. It does feel very, very plasticky and kind of cheap. So if we power it on, take a look at the software, we'll see we're running Android 2.2 Froyo, so definitely not the latest version of Android. We're a couple of versions behind here, but with the kind of basic hardware it is, you wouldn't necessarily expect bleeding edge software to go behind it. We're on a 1 GHz TI OMAP chip in here. 256 megs of RAM, 8 gigs of storage, so a fairly basic Android experience, and that's reflected in the software. The main problem with this device though is what you'll see here when we're scrolling. It has a resistive touchscreen. It is absolutely horrible. I've got to say, this is probably the worst touchscreen device I've ever used, and that's not to say that everything about it is bad, but the fact that they've used this resistive touchscreen means it's really difficult to get anything done. And it's something you'll notice in a lot of places, like in the app drawer here, and also in the launcher. Scrolling from side to side is so much more difficult. Anyway, if we look a bit closer at the actual software, it's mostly the open source Android stuff in here. It isn't Google certified, so you don't get any Google apps, but you do get access to Archos' own AppsLib app store, and that actually has a surprisingly wide range of apps that you can download to complement the basic sample of apps that are preloaded on here. So you can download things like Angry Birds and Skype, and of course this thing has a front-facing camera, so you can use video chat through Skype on there, which is pretty cool. But whichever app you're using, you've still got to deal with that resistive touchscreen, and it's just too much like hard work, especially when the vast majority of Android apps have been designed around capacitive screens. As you'll see here, just scrolling through a menu requires you to use an inordinate amount of force. You can't just flick the screen the way you can on a capacitive device. And it's a shame that it's held back by this, because the rest of the device is actually spec'd relatively high for what it is. It's Froyo on a 1 GHz chip, and we've seen that many times before, and that works just fine. But when you couple it with such a low-end touchscreen, it just holds the rest of the user experience back. I mean, it's worth mentioning that this kind of product isn't necessarily a bad idea, but we definitely want to see some hardware improvements before we're convinced. So anyway, there we go, that's the first look at the Archos 35 smart home phone. Thanks for watching.